Today we're talking about Nnamdi Kanu's ongoing legal case where the court has given him until November 5th to open his defense in a terrorism trial, or else he risks forfeiting his right to defend himself. This is a serious situation, and it's making waves not only in Nigeria but also internationally. Now I'm going to break everything down so that you understand exactly what's happening and why it's such a big deal. Before we continue, kindly subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share, as this will go a long way in helping us to grow. So, Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, has been facing terrorism charges brought by the Nigerian government. The federal government is accusing him of promoting separatism and inciting violence. These charges have been hanging over his head for a while now, and it's been a highly contentious case. Kanu, for his part, has not been defending himself in court, and that's where things get interesting. He's made it clear that he doesn't believe the charges against him are valid. He said that he sees no reason to defend himself because, in his view, the prosecution hasn't even established a proper case against him. He believes there's no evidence to back the charges. So, the judge, after hearing Kanu's argument, has said that Kanu needs to open his defense by November 5th. If he fails to do so, he could lose his right to defend himself. This means that the court could proceed with the case without hearing anything from Kanu. It's a huge decision for Kanu. On the one hand, he's holding firm to his position that the charges are politically motivated, but on the other hand, he risks having the case decided without him even getting a chance to defend himself. Now, this isn't just a legal issue. It's a political one as well. Nnamdi Kanu is a symbol for many people, especially in the southeast of Nigeria, where there's a large following for the Biafran separatist cause. The charges against him are seen by some as part of a wider effort by the Nigerian government to suppress movements calling for more regional autonomy or independence. So, his trial is about much more than just a single case. It's a battle over political freedom, ethnic identity, and the balance of power in Nigeria. What's interesting here is the legal strategy that Kanu has chosen. By refusing to enter a defense, he is essentially making a statement. He's saying that the entire trial is a farce and that it's a waste of time. Now, you might be thinking, why would anyone refuse to defend themselves in court? Well, the answer lies in the belief that the charges themselves are baseless. Kanu argues that the Nigerian government is simply trying to shut him down because of his political beliefs and his push for an independent Biafra. But here's the catch. The Nigerian legal system doesn't work that way. If you're accused of a crime, it's generally expected that you'll put up a defense in court. If you don't, the court can go ahead and rule based on the evidence presented by the prosecution. So, Kanu's refusal to defend himself could very well work against him if the judge decides to proceed without him. The prosecution, of course, wants the case to move forward quickly. They're arguing that Kanu's refusal to defend himself is just a stalling tactic, and they are pushing the court to make a decision soon. And that's where the stakes get higher. Kanu's decision to not defend himself is part of a larger political strategy, and it's also part of the tension between him and the Nigerian government. The government wants to suppress the Biafran movement, and they see Kanu as a figurehead of that cause. But Kanu and his supporters argue that the charges against him are politically motivated, and they are calling for his release. For Kanu, this trial is not just about defending himself in court. It's about standing up against what he sees as an unjust system that's trying to silence him and his supporters. So, what happens if Kanu does not open his defense by the November 5 deadline? If he fails to do so, the court may decide to close the case based on the prosecution's evidence. This could lead to a quick judgment, and we could see a ruling in the coming weeks. For Kanu and his supporters, this is a serious risk. If the court moves forward without hearing his defense, it could set a dangerous precedent. It would mean that political defendants could be silenced in court, unable to put up a defense, and left at the mercy of the prosecution. This is why people are so invested in Kanu's case. It's not just about one man's trial, but about the future of political freedom in Nigeria. The court, however, is not taking this lightly. They've made it clear that they won't allow the case to drag on indefinitely. The judge has warned that if Kanu refuses to defend himself, he could lose his right to a fair defense. This is important because it sets a limit on how long a defendant can delay the proceedings.
If Kanu decides to stay silent, the court could interpret this as a waiver of his right to defense, and that could speed up the trial process. For those who are watching this case closely, it's a reminder of the power that the court holds in ensuring that justice is served quickly. But let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture here. The trial of Nnamdi Kanu is not just a legal battle, it's a political one. The charges against him are tied to the broader issue of Nigeria's national unity and the struggle for regional autonomy. The southeast of Nigeria has a long history of agitation for independence, and the Biafran movement has always been at the forefront of that struggle. Kanu's trial is part of that larger narrative, and it's one that continues to resonate with millions of Nigerians, especially in the southeast. The Biafran cause has been a source of tension for decades. After the Nigerian Civil War, the idea of a separate Biafra was largely suppressed, but it never went away. In recent years, Kanu and his supporters have reignited the call for an independent Biafra, and that's what has brought him into conflict with the Nigerian government. The government sees this as a threat to the country's unity, and they've responded by arresting Kanu and charging him with terrorism and treasonable offenses. This case has garnered international attention. Human rights organizations have raised concerns about the fairness of the trial, and Kanu's supporters argue that he's being persecuted for his political views. The Nigerian government, on the other hand, maintains that they're simply upholding the law and protecting national security. It's a complex issue and there are no easy answers. Now, let's take a moment to think about the implications of this trial. If Kanu is convicted, what does that mean for the future of the Biafran cause? Will it be seen as a victory for the Nigerian government, or will it fuel more agitation and resistance? And if Kanu is acquitted, what will that mean for the government's efforts to silence separatist movements? This trial has the potential to change the political landscape in Nigeria, and it's something that everyone is watching closely. As we approach the November 5th deadline, it's clear that this case is far from over. Kanu's decision to refuse to defend himself is a bold move, but it's one that could have serious consequences. Whether the court proceeds with the trial or not, the outcome will be watched closely by both supporters and critics of the Biafran movement. And for Kanu, it's not just about defending himself in court. It's about defending his beliefs and his right to stand up for what he believes in. The Nigerian legal system is under scrutiny right now, and the whole world is watching how this plays out. When high-profile cases like this one happen, it raises questions about the balance between national security and political freedom. Should individuals have the freedom to express their political beliefs even if it challenges the status quo? Or should national security take precedence, especially when a movement is calling for secession? For many, Kanu's case symbolizes the struggle for political expression and autonomy. Biafran separatism has always been a sensitive issue in Nigeria. After the Civil War, the idea of Biafra was suppressed, but it has never really disappeared. And now, with the rise of social media and a more connected world, movements like IPOB have found new ways to push for their cause. It's a movement that speaks to deep-seated frustrations in the Southeast, a region that feels marginalized by the central government in Abuja. Kanu's arrest and trial have sparked protests and demonstrations, and his supporters view him as a martyr for their cause. But what if the court moves forward with the trial without hearing from Kanu? That would be a game changer, not just for him, but for the entire legal and political landscape in Nigeria. It would send a message about the limits of political expression and the power of the state in controlling political movements. It could also fuel more unrest in the southeast and other regions where similar sentiments are simmering under the surface. Some might see it as a violation of Kanu's rights, while others could argue that the government is simply trying to maintain order in the face of what they view as a threat to the country's unity. Now, let's zoom out a little bit. Even though this case is focused on Kanu and his political activities, it reflects a wider issue in Nigerian politics: the struggle between centralized power and regional autonomy. Nigeria is a country with over 250 ethnic groups, and each group has its own history, traditions, and grievances. For many people in the Southeast, the fight for Biafra is more than just about independence. It's about recognition, fairness, and the right to self-determination. The case has stirred up feelings of injustice, and some argue that Kanu is being persecuted for speaking out against what he sees as an unfair system. If Kanu loses this case, it could be a turning point for the Biafran movement. His supporters would see it as proof that the government is suppressing their voice, and it could lead to even more intense protests. On the other hand, if Kanu is acquitted or if he manages to get a favorable ruling, it could reignite the Biafran cause and provide a new sense of momentum for the movement. Either way, the trial is not just about Kanu, it's about a larger struggle for political freedom and regional autonomy in Nigeria. So, as we move toward the November 5th deadline, there's a lot of uncertainty about what will happen next. Will Kanu choose to open his defense?
Or will he continue to stand by his belief that the charges against him are politically motivated? What will the court decide if Kanu refuses to defend himself? And what does all of this mean for the future of Nigeria's democracy? One thing is certain. This case will have far-reaching consequences, and the outcome will likely shape the future of political dissent and regional autonomy in the country. It's a moment in Nigerian history that we will all be watching closely. And don't forget, this case is not just about one man. It's about the power of the people and the relationship between citizens and the state. If the government continues to suppress political movements like IPOB, how will that impact the overall political climate in Nigeria? If Kanu is convicted and sentenced, will this embolden other separatist movements or discourage them? As we watch these developments unfold, we should remember that the stakes are high, not just for Kanu, but for everyone who believes in the right to freely express political opinions, even if those opinions challenge the status quo. The legal system has a crucial role to play in determining how this case will affect Nigeria's political future. And let's not forget, there are a lot of voices in the Southeast who feel that their grievances are being ignored. Whether Kanu wins or loses, the deeper issues of marginalization and calls for autonomy will not go away. If anything, this trial could just be the beginning of a larger conversation about how Nigeria can move forward in a way that is fair and just for everyone, no matter their ethnic background or political beliefs. So, what do you think? Should Kanu have defended himself, or is he right to refuse to engage in a trial he believes is unfair? How do you think this case will play out in the end? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more updates on this case and other important news stories. Let's keep the conversation going. As always, I'll be back with more updates as soon as we know more. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching.